In this video series, we'll delve into the biblical timeline of history. We aim to uncover the significance of important historical dates, such as the creation in 11,013 BC, the flood in 4990 BC, and even the date when God would bring judgment upon the house of God, the churches, as mentioned in 1 Peter 4:17. We'll also explore the date of Judgment Day, which is also alluded to in the same verse. And you might be wondering what the biblical timeline of history is and why it's important to learn. These dates weren't placed in the Bible arbitrarily. They serve a purpose beyond mere knowledge. God always has a reason for concealing truths within the Bible. These essential dates are not explicitly stated in verses, but require meticulous exploration through comparing Scripture with Scripture, the biblical method for revealing truth, mathematical analysis, and ultimately guidance from God's Holy Spirit. So what exactly is the biblical timeline of history? It's a timeline that spans across the Bible, beginning with the first book, Genesis. This timeline then extends into subsequent books and chapters. Why should we invest time in learning about the biblical timeline of history? The answer can be found in Ecclesiastes 8:5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. To comprehend the current time or season, understanding past biblical events is essential to understand when future events will occur that the Bible is prophesied about.
You there, Carl?
Yep. Yep. Can you hear me?
Can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of our timeline series. This is going to be episode 14, I believe, and this is part 7. But it's titled on the YouTube video, so don't quote me on that. Give me 1 second. Add myself on the spotlight. All right, so we're just going to pick up with the kings. We went over the kings last time, and I believe we stopped with Jotham. No, not Jotham, Jehoram, king of Judah. That was a difficult king to go through.
Did you want to do a quick recap of that, or?
So we'll probably just Brian that. Let's see. All right, well, just to remind everyone how to get to the timeline, especially if you're new. You want to go to ebiblefellowship.org, and you want to go to the right side of the screen. And if you scroll down, you'll see biblical timeline. Click that. And to get to the King's timeline, I'll probably make this a little easier, add like another button just to go directly there. But we've really created our own separate page for this King's timeline because it's so involved. And so it really requires its own separate page. You click that. And we'll go right down to Jehoram. So we're working through the kings of Judah and Israel. Zoom out here a bit. So just so you can guys see an overview, these are all the kings of Israel on the left. And these are all the kings of, the kings of Judah are on the left. This is when Solomon's kingdom was divided. All the kings on the right are kings of Israel. And we've mentioned before that the kings of Israel actually die off here. And the kings of Judah continue on down. So we've made it as far as the 9th. Nope. It's actually the 5th king of Judah. So I'm going to zoom back in here. So we reviewed the 5th king of Judah, and we also actually went over King Ahaziah. So we'll just kind of do a quick review of Joram, and then we'll pick up with King Athaliah. And then as far as the kings of Israel, I believe we left off with Jeroboam. So we went through all of these. We left off with Jeroboam. So if you haven't seen those episodes, I definitely suggest you watch those. And we'll go ahead and just pick up where we left off. So Brian, do you want to read this?
Sure.
Or, you don't have to read the whole thing, but just to give an overview of, we already went over this last time, so just to kind of remind people of
yeah, we're not directly told when first of all, there's two King Joram / Jehorams. There's the 5th king of Judah versus I think it's the 10th king of Israel, and they both reigned for 12 accession years, 1 year apart. So the Judah Joram began 1 year before the Israel Joram. And can you bring that verse up real quick?
Yeah.
Where is it? We went this in more detail last time, but
you're looking at verse 17, right?
Yeah. So he died according to the word of Jehovah, which Elijah had spoken, and Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. And this would be the Israel Jehoram, in the 2nd year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. So if you look at the screen, it's telling us that the Israel Jehoram began to reign in the 2nd year of the Judah Jehoram. Can we just look at that on the graph real quick? And so you can see the Judah Jehoram began to reign. Let me move this.
854. You see that?
No, I have to move the something on my screen. I got to move.
Okay.
Okay. So as you can see, the Israel Jehoram started to reign in, can you just scroll it a little bit to the right? In 853 BC. And you'll find that if you scroll to the left, that corresponds to the 2nd non-accession year of the Judah Jehoram. And we're not told directly how long he reigned. However, we know that the son of the Joram Judah was killed the same year as the Israel Joram by Jehu. And
yeah,
can we look at that verse real quick?
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, so I could read it if you want.
Go ahead.
Or you can. And Joram said, "Make ready," and his chariot was made ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot, and they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength and smote Jehoram between his arms. So Jehu killed this Jehoram right here. And the Bible tells us he reigned for 12 accession years. We learned that. But when Ahaziah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled. So now you have this king over here, Ahaziah, he's fleeing from Jehu.
And Ahaziah is the son of the Judah Joram.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to remind people about that, because that can be confusing. You have an Ahaziah that's the king Ahaziah of Israel. These two guys are brothers of the Joram of Israel. These two are brothers, and this brother was killed by Jehu. Jehu also killed this Ahaziah right here, and this Ahaziah is son to this Joram.
Okay. So. And so again, we're not directly told when the Judah Joram's reign ends, but we are told when his son begins to reign. And can you pull up those two verses?
Yeah. This is which king? We're told which king son.
It should be under the Judah Joram.
Okay.
The 11th year and the 12th year.
Oh yeah.
2 Kings 9:29, and in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab. So this is the Israel Joram. And in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. And 2 Kings 8:25 says, in the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Joram, king of Judah, begin to reign. And if we look at the graph, we'll see the 11th accession year corresponds to the 12th, excuse me. Yeah, the 11th accession year is the 12th non-accession year, which is the year that Ahaziah, the king of the Judah Joram, began to reign. And just to confirm that, there's also a verse that says that he reigned 1 year. Can we look at that?
Yeah, I think that's here. No, I think it's here. Right here.
2 Kings 8:26, I guess. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. So this confirms that we're understanding it correctly, because he reigned 1 accession year. So this confirms that our understanding of when the Judah Joram died is correct. And can we just look at that real quick?
Yeah. So it's 842. This is the year. The 11th year is also the 12th non-accession year. So both statements are true. You scroll over 842, that gets you to the death of this Joram, the Jehu killed him, and it also gets you to the first non-accession year of this king Ahaziah, 842.
And he reigned 1 accession year. One other thing I want to touch on that I'm not sure that I talked about previously on air, I want to talk about this idea of dynasty. Could we look at second? Oh, shoot. Did it wrong. I think it's 1 Kings 13:1. No, that's not right. Give me a second.
Well, if you want, we can just go to the next.
Oh, sorry. It's 1 Samuel 13:1.
13 verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think I stopped sharing.
Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel. Now went over one portion of this where his first accession year corresponds to his second non-accession year. Now, one of the things that gave Mr. Campion a lot of trouble that I'm not sure I talked about previously is the way this is written in the Hebrew. It seems to imply that Saul was 1 year old when he became king. And I want to compare this to 2 Samuel 5:4. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. So David was 30 when he became king, and he reigned for 40 years, so he died when he was 70. Now, normally we just read things in the King James, but I want to read it in not the King James, but in the Young's literal translation. So this is 1 Samuel 13:1, not the King James. This is the Young's translation. A son of 30 years is David in his being king. 40 years hath he reigned. So it says a son of 30 years. Also, if you read the Green's literal translation, again, 2 Samuel 5:4, the Green's translation says, and David was a son of 30 years when he became king, and he reigned 40 years. Now, let's compare that to 1 Samuel 13:1. And again, in the King James, it reads, Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel. But in the Young's, it says, a son of a year is Saul in his reigning. 2 years hath he reigned over Israel. And if you read the Green's, it reads, again, 1 Samuel 13:1, according to the Green's translation, not the King James. It was 1 year since Saul became king. Then he reigned 2 more years over Israel. And so when theologians of the past read these, they seem to think that just because, like it says of David, he was a son of 30 years, and here it says Saul was a son of a year. So they thought it was saying that Saul was 1 year old when he became king. And this gave theologians a great heartache in the past. And one of the things Mr. Campion had to realize is it wasn't saying that he was a year old, but his dynasty was a year old. Okay, and so we see this idea of dynasty again with Asa. For example, if we look at 1 Kings 16:8. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Elah, the son of Baasha, to reign over Israel in Tirzah 2 years. So here we see that Baasha would have died and his son would have reigned in the 26th year of Asa. See that?
26 year, was it a session or non-a-session?
Would have had to have been non-accession.
Okay.
So Baasha died in that year. Baasha's son Elah became king that year in Asa's 26th non-accession year. If you scroll up, you'll see that it is referring to Baasha.
Yeah, his name is. I got to put his name back.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
anyway,
we went over that a few of the kings before, so we could just move on to
well, I just want to look at 2 Chronicles 16:1. In the 630th year of the reign of Asa, Baasha, king of Israel, came up against Judah and built Ramah to the intent that he might let none come out or go in to Asa, king of Judah. And so here again, how could he come against Baasha when he had been dead 10 years in his 36th year? Because we just read that he died in his 26th year. And so it's actually his 16th year, which is the 36th year of his dynasty. Because his grandfather, Rehoboam, became king 36 years earlier.
yeah.
And
we touched upon this, I think, on a different Kings episode. So
okay, well, I just wanted to clarify that's where we get the two verses where Ahaziah was 22 years old and Ahaziah was 42 years old. He was actually 22 years old, but it was the 42nd year of his dynasty from being a descendant of Omri, king of Israel.
all right, so because we already went over Joram and we were just reviewing it, the next king that's in view she's actually a woman, is King Athaliah. I'm sorry. We went through Joram and then we went through King Ahaziah. So she's the 7th king of Judah. And do you want to read that?
Sure. Athaliah, who was the only female king, she was the 7th king of Judah. And when did she reign? Athaliah's son, Ahaziah, king of Judah, was slain by Jehu, king of Israel. And we learned this took place in the year 841 BC, which would correspond to her first non-accession year. And for more details on that, see King Joram's tab, which we just looked at. And the year her son died was the year that she began to reign. And if we look at 2 Chronicles 22, I'll read verses 10 to 12. But when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Judah. So Athaliah killed all of her grandsons, allowing her to take the throne. I can't really see because of the scroll down a little bit. Verse 11. But Jehoash, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoash, the daughter of the king Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah so that she slew him not. So basically, one of the king's sons was saved from his grandmother. Yeah, however, God kept one of her grandsons alive by using Jehoiada the priest, because he told David the following in 1 Kings 9:5. Then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, There shall not fail thee, a man upon the throne of Israel. Now, of course, this is ultimately referring to the Lord Jesus Christ, who was the son of David, not the literal immediate son, but the son of David in the sense that he came from David. But also, all of the kings of Judah, with the exception of Athaliah, were a descendant of David through Solomon.
I can pick up if you want. So how long did she reign? Well, just to touch upon this first part where we learn that it's 841 BC. That was their first year of reigning. I believe it was with the Joram. So we learned that Joram reigns for 12 accession years, and he dies, right? Let me zoom out here. We learned that this Jehoram dies in 841 because Jehu slew him. And we also learned that this judge, Ahaziah, takes, this is his first year of reigning, 841. But it's also King Athaliah. This is her first non-accession year, 841.
And Athaliah would have been the wife of Jehoash, Jehoram, the fifth king of Judah, and the mother of the sixth king of Judah.
Yeah, and I think the verse was over here. Let me see. Yeah, just raise it up. Yeah. So yeah, the year that Ahaziah begins to reign. So 220 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah. So his mother is Athaliah. Well, he dies. He only reigns for 1 year. And so that means if he dies and all of his brothers are slain, then Athaliah takes over in 841. And that's how we discover it's 841. So that's when she reigned. Okay, zoom in a bit. So the next question is, how long did she reign for? And he was with, so this is the grandson that was hidden. Jehoash, right? Jehoash, yeah. This is Jehoash. He was the one son that didn't die. So, and he was with them hid in the house of God 6 years. And Athaliah reigned over the land. So she's reigning for 6 years while the boy is being hidden, the grandson. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet, and they slew Athaliah with the sword beside the king's house. 7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign. So we can see he was 6 years old, and now he's 7 years old, and this is his first year, his non-accession 835.
Yeah, so if he was hidden 6 years and he was 7 when he became king, that means he must have been 1 when his father died and his grandmother slew all his brothers.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And at the end of her 6 years of reign, she was killed, and her grandson Jehoash began to reign when he was 7. And that's this year. All right. So Joash and Jehoash, the same person, 2 different names. You'll notice he has a condition-based heart, because God does say some good things about him. So King Jehoash was the 8th king of Judah. 2 Kings 11, 20, 21. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet, and they slew Athaliah with the sword beside the king's house. 7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign. When did he reign and how long? We know Athaliah began to reign in 841 BC and reigned for 6 accession years, which takes us to 835. So Jehoash begins to reign that year. That's how we know to place him here. Also reread, in the 7th year of Jehu. So remember Jehu, he's over here. So the 7th year, and this happens to be a 7th non-accession year. the 7th non-accession year, Jehoash began to reign. So how do we know it's his 7th non-accession year? Well, that's 835 BC. We know Athaliah dies in 835 BC, and we know Jehoash takes over. So this is one of those things that, again, locks in. If you're confused, well, how do we know it's not the 7th accession year? Well, it doesn't fit to say it's the 7th accession year. It only fits to say the 7th non-accession year. So that's why we highlight it in this color, because we know it has to be a non-accession year. And 40 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. So we know he reigned for 40 years. 40 years, and that gets us to 795 BC. And Jehoash did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah all his days, wherein Jehoiada the priest instructed him. So this king does sound like he was a saved individual. However, God prefaces condition. It's based off a condition that Jehoiada the priest is instructing him. So as soon as the priest dies, then he's no longer faithful. So that's why we, much like Solomon was faithful up to a certain point, and then till he was not. All right, so the next king of Judah would be the 9th king, and this is Amaziah. And Amaziah also has a condition-based heart. Now, just a reminder, if you see the red, that means that there's a co-regency. So any red you see is a co-regency. If it's darkened, that means we're not counting those years, because we'd be double counting. So we wouldn't count 796, 795, because we would just be double counting. If we're going to count these two, no need to count these two. So then we drop down here, that gets us to 794. We'd count these years, but we'd also count this year. Even though it's a co-regency, we just wouldn't count this one, because it'd be double counting again, 789. Okay, Brian, do you want to read this one?
Sure. King Amaziah was the 9th king of Judah. When did he reign? 2 Kings 14, 1 and 2. In the 2nd year of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, reigned Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah. How long did he reign for? Verse 2. He was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 20 and 9 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jehoadan of Jerusalem. Can you scroll down a little more? And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, yet not like David his father. He did according to all the things as Joash his father did. And of course, we know that Joash was an unsaved man, and it says he didn't do things like David, who was a saved man. So this king, although God said he did that which was right, was an unsaved king. And if we look at 2 Kings 14, 17, and Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, 15 years. And if we can look at, Joash/Jehoash, king of Israel, 13, died in the year 10,231 EA, Earth Age, which roughly corresponds to 782 BC. 15 years later is 10,286 Earth Age, or 767 BC, and the year that Amaziah, the 9th king of Judah, died. So why does God let us know that he reigned 15 more years after the death of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, and he was the 12th king, if we already know when he began to reign and how long he reigned? Well, perhaps God has highlighted the number 15 for us.
Okay. So just to show you on the timeline, it's the 2nd year of Joash. So this is the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel. So if we scroll over here, this is Jehoash. Zoom out a bit. This is his 2nd accession year. That's why we have it in yellow, 796 BC. We scroll over, that's when Amaziah begins to reign, 796 BC. And then he, of course, reigned for 29 years. So that's why we put him 29 accession years right there. What was that last thing you mentioned? Yeah, so what's curious is why God lets us know about the 15 years. Because So Amaziah, the son of Jehoash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Jehoash. So Jehoash dies, he's right here. He dies in 782, which is his 16th accession year. So if you scroll right over to 782 over here, 782, this is his 14th, this is Amaziah's 14th accession year. So if you count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he reigned another 15 years. But it's curious because God already lets us know when he began to reign. Amaziah, it's 796. We just learned it was the second accession year of Jehoash. And we also know that he reigned for 29 years. So, but for whatever reason, God lets us know he reigned an additional 15 years, which matches up with the 29. So it does lock that in more. Okay. And Brian, do you want to explain this co-regency in red?
Oh, I do think, by the way, I don't know if this is related or not, but I think that God also added 15 years to Hezekiah as well. So I don't know if that's related or not.
Yeah, it's that same number used.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if it's related or not. But yeah, so he would have been co-regent with his father for his first 2 years, and then he would have been co-regent with his son Uzziah or Azariah for the last 23 years.
Yeah, 29 minus 7.
22.
I guess unless you count.
Well, 26. Is it?
Well,
Yeah, I
his
think
29th accession year. So isn't it 29 minus 7? Or 29
I
minus
think we
6?
minus 29 minus 6.
Yeah. Yeah, 23. Which actually leads us to the next king. Let's see. Did we do? Yeah, we did Jehoash last time. So Uzziah and Azariah. So this is the 10th king of Judah. Down here. So King Uzziah, also known as Azariah, was the 10th king of Judah. So when did he reign and how long? 2 Kings 15:1. In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began Azariah, the son of Amaziah, king of Judah, to reign. Now, we actually talked about this briefly last time, and I didn't understand it at the time. And I think Brian was trying to figure it out as well, because we actually learned that, and we'll be able to prove this, that Uzziah and Azariah, Uzziah/Azariah began to reign in 789 BC, right? This is his first non-accession year. And Jeroboam, if we scroll over, and this is talking about the second Jeroboam, not the first one, that reigned with the very first king when the kingdoms were divided. His 27th accession year, non-accession, would be 766, which is already the 23rd year of Uzziah. And so it doesn't fit. So in the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began Azariah, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, to reign. Note, this is Jeroboam, the 14th king of Israel, not Jeroboam, the first king of Israel, who began to reign when the kingdom was divided from Solomon. This verse makes it appear that Uzziah Azariah began his reign, Jeroboam's 27th non-accession year, which is 766 BC. We have him at 789. However, when examined more closely, this is not possible because we know Uzziah Azariah began reigning in 789 BC, which is actually Jeroboam's 4th non-accession year, not his 27th year. So 789 corresponds with Jeroboam's 4th non-accession year, whereas this verse appears to be telling us it's actually this 27th year. And so it's creating a problem that we have to solve. So how do we reconcile this apparent contradiction? However, we can understand that when it says begin to reign, it's not referring to the first year he began to reign as king, but rather the first year he began to reign as sole ruler. So this 27th year would be the year Uzziah Azariah is no longer co-reigning alongside his father Amaziah. So it's the first year he began to reign by himself. And so that's how we can understand it, is this 27th year of Jeroboam. So here's Jeroboam. If we go down his 27th non-accession year, that's 766 BC. If we scroll over to the right, 766 BC is the year after his father Amaziah dies. So Amaziah, he reigns for 29 years. He dies in this year. And so the following year, he's reigning as sole ruler, which would be the 27th non-accession year for Jeroboam, right here. And that corresponds with Uzziah's 23rd accession year, right? So that's how we're able to understand that. And it's one thing to say this because it does fit, but we can actually prove it, that it has to be that. So it's interesting to note that Uzziah Azariah is 39 years old at this point. He was 16 years old when he began to reign. And you can prove that right here. Let's see what that verse is.
You might have to scroll up.
Yeah, maybe I had it up. Oh, it should be down. Let's see. Okay. So 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 250 years. Nope, that's not it.
That's it. 16 years old.
Oh, I'm sorry. 16 years old when he began to reign.
Yeah, you're gonna have to highlight the 16 though.
Yeah, I didn't highlight that. 16 years old. Okay. So we know he's 16 years old right here. Back up. All right. So it's interesting to note that Uzziah Azariah is 39 years old at this point. So the point in time would be this 27th non-accession year of Jeroboam, the 23rd accession year of Uzziah, right? He's 39 years old. He was 16 years old when he began to reign, which is right here. He's 16. So 23 years later, when he began to reign as sole ruler, makes him 39 years old. You do the math, 16 years, you add 23, that gets you to 39. So what's interesting about this is that you have the number 39, you also have the number 23. And one thing also I wanted to point out is that this first non-accession year would be his 16th year, but his first accession would actually be his 17th year. And that's an interesting number because you had 17 years from 1994 to 2011, and 39 years is also a number that stands out. So it's curious as to those numbers are interesting, but that's all we're going to note regarding that. So when did this king actually begin to reign? Or how do we prove it really was Jeroboam's fourth non-accession year, not his 27th year, that Uzziah Azariah began to reign? So the verse is telling us it's the 27th year, but we're saying no, it's actually the fourth accession year. So how do we prove that? So this is where Pekah comes into play. And Brian, do you want to take over?
Sure.
Explain about Pekah.
So we know Pekah, king of Israel, began to reign the same year that Pekahiah died, which was in 738 BC. So this is his first non-accession year, which corresponds with Uzziah/Azariah's 52nd non-accession year. And this lets us know two things. Did you read the verse?
No, let's go over to his tab first, because that'll help us prove that. See. So we'll pick up there, but we'll first read Pekahiah. We're going to be skipping a few of these kings of Israel we haven't gone over yet, just for the sake. So here's Pekahiah. Pekahiah.
1 Kings 15:22-24. And Menahem slept with his fathers, and Pekahiah his son reigned in his stead. In the 50th year of Azariah king of Judah, Pekahiah the son of Menahem began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 2 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. But Pekahiah the son of Remaliah, a captain of his, conspired against him, and smote him in Samaria, in the place of the king's house, which Argob and Ariah, and with him 50 men of the Gileadites, and killed him and reigned in his room.
And I just wanted to point out, it says in the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah.
Pekahiah.
So the 50th year would be, this is 740. That would be Uzziah's 50th non-accession year, 740. And let's see, then we can go to Pekah.
1 Kings 15, 27 and 28. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah the son of Remaliah began to reign over Israel and Samaria, and reigned 20 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And 2 Kings 15:30 reads, and Hoshea the son of Elah made conspiracy against Pekah the son of Remaliah, and smote him and slew him, and reigned in his stead in the 20th year of Jotham the son of Uzziah.
So in this case, it's the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, that Pekah begins to reign. So we learned that this year was the 50th non-accession. So this Pekah 738. So if we scroll over, that's his first non-accession year. Scroll over. This is the 50. I'm sorry, it's his first accession year.
What?
Wait, let's see. The 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, began to reign.
Okay, so 738.
So the 52nd.
Accession, not
I'm
accession
sorry,
year.
non-accession, yeah. 52nd non-accession year is 738 BC. And we see that's his first year, non-accession year, 738 BC. So the Bible locks in with both of these guys. It locks in Uzziah's the end of his rule here, down here. It locks it in. So that's how we know that that it couldn't be. No, well, I'll finish just reading the note. Okay. So we know Pekah, king of Israel, began to reign the same year. Pekaniah died in 738 BC. This was his first non-accession year, which corresponds with Uzziah Azariah's 52nd non-accession year. So that's what we just went over. This lets us know two things. Number one, it was Azariah's 52nd non-accession year, not his 52nd accession. So we know it has to be his 52nd non-accession. So if you're confused, well, how do we know it's his 52nd? How do we know it's not his 52nd accession year? Well, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit, which we'll later find out was actually his total reign. Number two, this locks in the fact that Azariah Uzziah had to begun to reign in Jeroboam's fourth non-accession year, right? Not his 27th non-accession year, as it appears in 2 Kings 15, which means we're on the right track with the 27th year referring to his reign as sole ruler. So because the Bible locks in this year down here, 52, it also locks in 50 right here with both of these kings of Israel. That means if you backtrack, he has to reign in this year. It can't shift. Now, if we were to just take this verse at face value, at the top, in the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began Azariah to rule. We'd have to put Azariah's beginning point all the way down here. Let's see. We'd have to start right here. If we were to take the verse at face value, we'd have to start his rule right here. And it would seem to make sense to actually do that because of this verse, but also there's another verse that seems to indicate we should actually do that. So I'll read that. Let's see. So the second thing, this locks in the fact that Azariah Uzziah had to begun to reign in Jeroboam's fourth non-accession year and not his 27th non-accession year, as it appears in 2 Kings 15, which means we're on the right track with the 27th year referring to his reign as sole ruler, right? So consider this. God wrote the Bible with traps, and there are two good reasons to believe that Azariah's reign began in Jeroboam's 27th year. And the rest of the acts of Amaziah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? 2 Kings 14:19. Now they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish, but they sent after him to Lachish and slew him there. Verse 20. And they brought him on horses, and he was buried at Jerusalem with his fathers in the city of David. Verse 21. And all the people of Judah took Azariah, which was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father Amaziah. So these verses appear to say that as soon as Amaziah dies, 16-year-old Azariah takes over. So if we know Amaziah dies in his 29th accession year, and we know this king is 16 when he begins, then why shouldn't we put him here when he's 16? Because this verse appears to indicate that. And furthermore, this also happens to be the 27th non-accession year. So it would seem like to fit. You have these two reasons to actually place his first year of reigning right here. However, it won't work to do that because of what we learned over here with Pekahiah and Pekaniah, Pekah and Pekaniah.
Pekahiah.
Pekahiah, I can't even say the names right.
All
Because
right.
God locks in these dates, it wouldn't work to do that. So this is why this is considered a biblical trap. You could be convinced, oh, this has to be it. This has to work, but it won't allow it. You can't have both. So
And
let's
this
see.
serves the dual purposes of allowing critics to say scribal error, it's not accurate, blah, 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 blah. But now it doesn't actually give them that right, but in their own mind, it gives them that. I'm going to clarify that. The other thing is that was one of the ways that God was able to hide truth until the end of time, as we read about in the book of Daniel, where the book was sealed to the time of the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good. I'd have to say it's a very good trap because it definitely got me. I was
Got both of us.
Yeah, I was like, you sure we shouldn't be placing him there? It really is amazing how precise the Bible is. So if it weren't for us understanding these two kings here, which are actually critical for us knowing to place his end of his reign in this area. So
Yeah. And if we actually did make him start the year in that reign in that year, that means the reigns of those kings would have been pushed down much further, which means that there would have had to have been a gap where there was no king of Israel.
yeah, so that would have greatly. So if his first year started here, then you got to go from 1 all the way to 52, and that would actually take him to I think I calculated this. This is 766. If you minus 52 years, that would, instead of him dying in 737, his reign would actually end in.
Can you show the screen? We're looking at our faces. Can you show the
Oh, I see.
graphic?
Yeah. So suppose that we decided to put him right here, which it appears like we should in 766, right? Well, you take 766 and you add the 52 years of his total reign.
Subtract.
Sorry, subtract.
Unless you want to do native 766.
Yeah. 714 is as far as it takes you down. So his reign would have ended here, not in 737 BC, but actually in 714, which
means he would have co-regent with his son, his grandson, and his great-grandson, which makes no sense.
Yeah, and also he would have died the same year that, interesting enough, it would have had him die the same year Ahaz died. So I don't know if there's a verse that proves that Uzziah died the same year that Ahaz died, right? Because that would put him down here, and it would also put him the first year of Hezekiah. So, yeah. Okay. So, which one would try to place Azariah's first year of reign at the very end, the 29th year of Amaziah's reign? You see, it almost appears to fit and work, except it won't work with understanding with Pekah's, I misspelled his name. Rule. So how long did he reign for? Well, he was 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years. So again, this verse lets us know his total reign was 52 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jehoash of Jerusalem. Now, Brian, I don't know if you wanted to talk about this a bit, but it does say he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. And I know other kings, it says that same thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean a total rule. Where just because it says it gives a number and then it says in Jerusalem, it doesn't mean that was the total rule of the king. But in this case, it does mean that was his total rule, even though it says in Jerusalem.
Yeah, it just means he was in Jerusalem the whole time. So again, that's just another way that God can lay the trap. Just like we read with Omri, where he reigned 6 years in Tirzah and 6 years in Samaria.
All right.
And interestingly enough, 52 is 4 times 13.
That was interesting.
And the number of cards in a deck of cards.
52. All right. So verse 3, and he did that. So this is didn't have the verse reference. I believe it's 2 Kings 15. Verse 3. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. So again, it says he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah. It sounds like he's a saved king, and he actually should have a condition-based heart. I got to change that, but it did appear like he was saved, but we later find out he's being compared to Amaziah, and we know Amaziah was only good up until a certain point. So co-regency. So do you want to read this, Brian?
Okay. Why was there such a long co-regency between Amaziah, the 9th king of Judah, and his son Uzziah / Azariah, the 10th king of Judah? In 2 Kings 14, we'll start in verse 8. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, "Come, let us look one another in the face." And Jehoash, the king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, "The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give thy daughter to my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trode down the thistle. Thou hast indeed smitten Edom, and thine heart hath lifted thee up. Glory of this, and tarry at home. For why shouldest thou meddle to thy hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? But Amaziah would not hear. Therefore Jehoash, king of Israel, went up, and he and Amaziah, king of Judah, looked one another in the face at Beth-shemesh, which belongeth to Judah. And Judah was put to the worse before Israel, and they fled every man to their tents. And Jehoash, king of Israel, took Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, son of Ahaziah, at Beth-shemesh, and came to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim unto the corner gate, 400 cubits. Can you scroll down a little more?
Yeah.
And he took all the gold and silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of Jehovah and in the treasures of the king's house and hostages, and returned to Samaria. And notice Amaziah was taken hostage by Joash / Jehoash, the 13th king of Israel. This is most likely when the co-regency between Amaziah and Uzziah began. And the foolish actions of Amaziah would make him very unpopular, and they made his son Uzziah / Azariah king, and presumably they slew Amaziah later. And we read in 2 Kings 14, 18 to 21, and the rest of the acts of Amaziah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? Now they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. but they sent after him to Lachish and slew him there. Can you scroll down a little bit more? And they brought him on horses, and he was buried at Jerusalem with his fathers in the city of David. And all the people of Judah took Azariah, which was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father Amaziah. So obviously these two events would not have happened simultaneously. So he must have been made king when he was 16, when his father was captured. And then it was later on that his father was killed and he became sole ruler.
When his father was captured and killed, he couldn't have been 16 years old. He actually had to have been 39 years old, which is right here. His father was captured here, but the Bible tells us he's 16 years old here. So he's actually 39 years old when his father was captured and killed. So it's one of those things we have to figure out how to reconcile. But one thing I wanted to point out is that if we were to take this passage at face value, this verse about Azariah beginning to reign in Jeroboam's 27th year, right? And it seems like we would have enough evidence to do that, to place him right here, although it would conflict with these two guys' rule, Pekah's and Pekaniah's. If we would have done that, we actually wouldn't have discovered. So if I were, some sort of biblical scholar, and I just took those verses like that, and I thought I figured it out, then I wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have saw actually that. Let me scroll down a bit. We wouldn't have noticed this 39-year reign right here, right? Because this would have been, we would have placed his reign, he would have been 16 if we had followed the verse at face value. So we wouldn't have been able to spot this idea of him being 16 here. And then as soon as Amaziah dies, he's 39. So perhaps God is hiding that information, and only it would have been discovered with this understanding that he reigned when he did, which is up here. So you follow what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah. Did you want to talk about today's time period?
Oh, today's
The 1990,
yeah, I mean,
2010 thing, and
it was just an idea. I'm not sure if you have enough proof, but it is interesting to note that there is 39 years from here all the way down to here. And we also have the number 23. Sorry, there's 39 years from 789 into 766. So this is when Uzziah becomes sole ruler. It's 39 years exactly. And I can't help but think 23 is in view, and we know there's 23 years from 1988 to 1994, or sorry, to 2011. Also, this Uzziah was 17 years old here. This is his first accession year. So you have that number 17, like the 17 years of
latter reign.
Yeah, latter reign. So if you go from here and you go all the way down here, this is the 39th year, which we're learning that there's this is how many years from 2011 to 2033. So it's just kind of interesting, but that's all I could say. So
yeah. So okay.
All right.
It's 9 o'clock. I don't know if you want to keep going, or do you want to take questions, or
yeah, we could see if anyone has any questions, and it's up to you. We can keep these have been running a little bit longer, so if anyone has any questions about what we went over, feel free to raise your hand. And we have a question from Louisa. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Louisa.
Was King Ahaziah of Judah, his dynasty, was it inherited through his mother Athaliah?
Yeah, if you're talking about
His
give me a sec.
dynasty.
Give me a second. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Can you guys see the spreadsheet?
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So if you look at Azariah, there's one verse that says he was 22 when he began to reign, and another verse that says he was 42 when he began to reign. And so here, if you look here, Ahaziah, Jehoash, Azariah, we can see 0. So 22 years earlier, this would have been the year he was actually born. And he was a king of Judah. He was never a king of Israel. However, his mother Athaliah, there's one verse that says that she was the daughter of Ahab. There's another verse that says she was the daughter of Omri. But as you can see, if you go back 42 years, this is the first accession year of either his, let's see, so this would be his mother, grandfather. So either his, so when Omri became king was 42 years earlier. So even though he was only a king of Judah, never a king of Israel, his dynasty as a descendant of Omri, king of Israel, was 42 years old when he became king in 842 BC.
So through his mother.
Through his mother. His mother was Athaliah. And like I said, there's one verse that says she was the daughter of Ahab, and there was another verse that said she was the daughter of Omri. So my guess is she was probably the immediate daughter of Ahab, and she was the daughter of Omri in the sense that she was a descendant of Omri. So I guess so Athaliah would have been his mother, Ahab his grandfather, and Omri his great grandfather.
Okay. Now the other question is, I wondered where I got the 23 kings on the Jerusalem side and the 23 kings on the Israel side. These lines ended 23 and 23 on each side.
Well, that's easy because you had 20 kings of Israel, you had 20 kings of Judah, meaning you had 20 kings who reigned over only the 10 tribes, starting with Jeroboam, and you had 20 kings who reigned over only Judah and Benjamin, starting with Rehoboam. And then if you add Saul, David, and Solomon, who reigned over all 12 tribes, 20 plus 3 is 23. So
Okay.
Israel had, meaning the 10 tribes of Israel, had a total of 23 kings, and Judah had a total of 23 kings. But if you don't double count them, you take 20 of Israel and 20 of Judah, you add Saul, David, and Solomon, that adds to 43 total kings.
But 23 is the number of judgment.
Correct.
Okay.
And 43 is also a number of judgment, like they were in Israel for 430 years, for example, which is 10 times 43.
Not to mention, you said there's 23 total kings of Israel and Judah.
There was 23 kings of Judah, including Saul, David, and Solomon, and there was 23 kings of Judah, including Saul, David, and Solomon.
That's kind of curious because if you count, that's 46 when you total them.
No, because that would be double counting Saul, David, and Solomon.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
I see.
Okay, I have not heard you mention Zechariah after Jeroboam, the number 14 of Israel. And then I had Shallum, son of Jabez, Menahem, son of Godi, and then you skipped to Pekahiah.
We haven't gone through all those kings yet. We only mentioned him because it was important. It was needed to establish the reign of Uzziah / Azariah. So we went over this king Azariah, but it was during his reign that these two became king. So we will, Lord willing, go through the kings of Israel and show on the Israel side that had to be. But we needed that to prove that Uzziah began to reign here rather than beginning to reign here.
Okay, so Azariah and Uzziah is the same person.
Well, Azariah is one of the names of Uzziah, but there's also, oh, you know what? That might be the only Azariah. All these kings sound so alike. Was there? Oh, this is a Hazahiah. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, but
Yeah, I believe there's only one Azariah, one Uzziah.
yeah, there's only one Uzziah.
Okay, so they are the same. Those two names are the same person. When you say-
Correct. But there may be somebody else who has the name Azariah. For example, there was an Azariah the priest who would have been somebody different.
There's also Jotham.
Right.
Jotham was a judge, or he was around the time of the judges, but he's also a king. But at least as far as the kings, I don't think there's another Uzziah or Azariah.
Yeah.
Just one of them.
But every time you say Azariah - Uzziah, you're talking about the same person, the same king.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a king that actually has three names. Ahaziah of Judah. He's also known as Jehoash, and also oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I take that back. He's also known as Azariah.
The 19th king of Judah is Jehoiachin and Jeconiah and also Coniah.
The sixth king of Judah. He goes by Ahaziah, Jehoaz, and also Azariah. Not to be confused. So I take that back. Stand corrected. He's also given the title Azariah.
Yeah. Jehoash and Azariah.
Jehoaz, Ahaziah, and Azariah are all the same
The
in
same
this
person.
regard. However, Azariah, this is a different Azariah. It would be nice to do
Okay.
separate.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these times, Brian, we could go through proving the names. You know, that they're the same people.
Yeah, that might be interesting. But a lot of times it'll say one name and then the next verse it'll say the opposite name.
Yeah. So the name also, what would be curious is to see the ages, like, you know, the significant the ages of each king. Like, for example, Azariah, Uzziah was 26. Azariah / Uzziah was 16 years old when he began to reign, and God gives us that a lot. You know, with Amaziah, for example, he was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign. So it would be nice to put that together too.
I had 22 years old for King Ahaziah / Jehoash and / Azariah. That's 22 years old.
No, 22 years old.
Yes.
Yeah, he may have been 22 when he began.
Yeah, I think he was, if I recall correctly.
Okay, but he only reigned for 1 year, so.
Which means he would have been 23 when he died.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's another interesting thing to point out is he's 22 when he began to reign, 23 when he died. You have the number 22 and you have the number 23. So.
Like 22, 23 inclusive.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why we're so careful to denote the numbers of the kings, and when we made a lot of effort, you know, for example, to differentiate the 10th king of Israel from the 5th king of Judah, or the 13th king of Israel from the 8th king of Judah.
Well, if there's any more questions that anyone has about what we went over today, or just the timeline in general, I just also wanted to mention that we hope to, when the timeline series is done, we hope to create like a consolidated version of the timeline maybe like an hour long, just to put everything. I wouldn't say like a rapid version, but a version that goes through it without getting going off into a lot of detail, but enough detail to make it through the whole timeline. So hopefully we can do something like that. I guess we'll wrap it up, Brian. Do you want to pick it up next Sunday?
Yep. We're going.
All right. So I just want to note that we left off with Uzziah. So next Sunday we'll see if we can pick it up with Jotham. He's a king of Israel, and I believe king of Judah, the last king of Israel. We skipped a few kings here just to go over this, but we'll go over them again. And we'll pick up with Jeroboam, king of Israel, because we already did the 13th king of Israel. So we'll pick up with the 14th king of Israel next time. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and God willing, we'll be back next Sunday. Take care. Bye.
Bye.